All right, it's taking a charge. That's good. So that battery isn't completely shot. It just won't hold the charge, but it is taking the charge. So we're good. I'm only pulling in 0.2 amps. There's virtually no sun. Pretty cloudy day down here in Florida. So good. This is the panel that I use for my just to charge my starter battery. I was going to put it on the roof, but no. I mean, I only had plans on keeping this RV for about 3 or 4 years. Now, this is a foldable Renogy 100-watt setup that I bought 4 years ago, a long time ago. It has its own charge controller, right? Well, it was cloudy one day and I didn't have enough power, so I decided to hook up another panel to it, and I fried it. So don't do that, because the sun came out and went zoop, and it didn't have the overcharge protection on it, so the charge controller fried. So I just used the panel, keep that up in there. If you do notice, you can see, I don't know if you can see the difference here, glare. See how that one's all cracked? I was weed whacking one day on my property and I flinged a rock at it and it shattered all the glass. See the difference? Oh, that one's like that, that one's like that. But it still works though, so I use it. Works pretty good. But that's my setup to keep my battery charged. The starter battery, only the starter battery. When I build the box truck, I will have a separate 100-watt panel up on the roof, and that'll be dedicated just to charge my starter battery. And there's one of my panels. I actually have them on hinges. I put them together. They're easy to carry. Let's see if we can pick it up real quick. See, I put them on hinges. I can fold them up and tuck them away. But I have 6 of them. So 600 watts deployable. Not 1,000, 600 deployable. And then 400 on the roof. 1,000 total watts, 1,050, including that. Yeah, works pretty good. Now here's my battery setup. That's my starter battery right here. Panels are going in there. Charging it. Everything else is running out. Now this Cruise Master had the batteries in the front, which I thought would be a good idea at first, but the heat, the cold, the rain getting on them. I actually, if I sit for a while, I have a tarp that I put right here to cover them up. But in '99, they really didn't have a lot of solar, so they had 2 batteries set up. They had a battery here and a battery over there. So I was gonna move these batteries into the back and then run all the wire back there, but that's a lot of wire, so I didn't want to do it. So I kept the batteries here, and I made up some brackets down here to get these closer together. And those are my batteries. They're 2 VMAX charge tanks, 125 amp hour. They're not that old. They're only 3 years old, going on 4, as long as I've had the RV. But I got to take all this apart. I'm going to go over a little thing here. These are my bus bars. I've seen so many people wire up solar. They just don't know. You know, I'm not calling anybody dumb or nothing. You just don't know. You mess with it and you figure it out. They extend these bolts because they can't get all these lugs on there, so they make the bolts longer. No, you don't need to do that. How you doing?
Good stuff.
Pretty good. Nice little scooter. I gotta get me one of them.
It's a lifesaver for me because I can't walk.
Oh, I just want to have fun with it. Anyway, one of the neighbors. So what you do, I mean, I see this a lot on YouTube. I follow a lot of solar channels. Just get yourself a bus bar, right? You run your, well, this is my out. This is going out. And then you can hook up anything you want to it, you know? And then you just run the bus bar to the one. See, this is my negative side. I have them jumped together. This wire probably is a little thin, but it's what I had. That's not the problem. But these are my inputs. And another way to charge your batteries is some people will, their input from, which is this right here, comes from my charge controller, which is charging my batteries. This is the Renogy 60 amp. Okay. That comes in here, and you take one negative and you put on this side of the battery, and you take your other positive on that side of the battery. Because if you go here and here and then try to charge 5 batteries all the way back, you're not going to mix up them electrons in that battery. You're going to get bad charge. Even this is only halfway right. The correct way to charge a battery in a battery bank is to get a couple more of these bus bars, which I was going to get, but as you can see, that's my radiator. I have nowhere to mount them. And what you do is you mount your negative up here at bus bar, positive up here, and then you run your power that's charging the battery into it. And then you run a separate wire from this whole positive side, and you're going to run a separate wire to each battery on the positive. Now you might think that's more expensive, but it's not, because you can use thinner wire, which is not going to cost you that much. So you'd have 2 bus bars here. Each would come off of this. You would have 1 wire coming to this battery, and then another connector here coming straight off to that battery. You eliminate this wire. You're not running them like this, but you're still charging them correctly. You're charging them better. That way the electrons can all bounce around in there and they charge better. Now all you trolls are going to tell me it don't matter. It does matter. I'm not going to argue. So that's balanced charging, you know. And then on top of that, if you have an issue like I have, it's easier to maintain the batteries. If these were regular lead acid batteries or something, if I had a problem and I needed a new battery, I could take this battery out and still run my system, because the other batteries would still be hooked up to this bus bar or this bus bar. You know what I mean? So the way I have mine is, this is my load. My bus bar is off of my load. This is the load. This comes off the load. And then everything that I run, this is my inverter cable, which was very expensive. That stuff's $12 a foot. This is only the load side. And then my positive load side would be over here. If you can see that coming through here, all the load. That way I have all these other terminals. If I need to hook something up, easy. Pop this cap off, those bolts right there. Just hook it up instead of extending these. So I got to take this bolt out, that bolt out, that bolt out, that bolt out, fire up the generator, and charge these batteries up. Get a charger. I have a couple chargers. I'm not sure which one I want to use. Well, first thing I got to do, generator's running. This is off a 12 volt, and my refrigerator's running off a 12 volt right now. So I have to do some unplugging to plug it into the AC side of it, because this will run 12 volt or 120 volt. So, and so will this. I have a cord up here. It's my little charging station here. Meters and gauges. I'm gonna need this too. This is a voltmeter. This thing is really cool. I'll show you guys this here in a minute. But I keep this extension cord up here. That's just the AC side. So I take the cord and I run it up there and I plug it in when I'm running a generator. No big deal. I don't have an auto transfer switch. I would like an auto transfer switch. The box truck will have an auto transfer switch. So if the solar goes down too low, the transfer switch identifies that there's a low current, and it'll automatically switch to the other current coming in, vice versa. When the solar charge comes up, it'll switch back over to the 12 volt. It's about a $60 switch, but it's well worth it, and then I don't have to do any of this. So let me get these switched around, get some tools, and get that thing ripped apart. So I don't want my food to thaw. There we go. Fridge is on. Run up the generator. That's running off the generator. All right, let's go get some tools here. Yeah, I'm going off subject again, but whatever. This refrigerator runs very, very low voltage. It even said in the directions, low voltage, only runs like 25, 30 watts, you know, every so blah, blah, blah. But here's the kicker. When that compressor kicks on, it jumps up to 800 watts for just like a millisecond. And that's not good. So I'm not going to take it back. I'm going to use it. So just be aware when you buy a little mini fridge like this and you're going to run it off 12 volt or whatever. And make sure your inverter is big enough, because I tried running this off of a separate 600 watt inverter that I had. It just wouldn't do it. As soon as the compressor kicked on, granted, it's only running 30 watts, I think, 25 or 30 watts while it's running. But once that compressor kicks in, that quick 800, it kept tripping my inverter. I thought there was something wrong with the fridge, but I hooked this up, which this is an inline test that shows me what what's running. You just plug it into your wall, and it'll tell you each individual unit that is. So you can add up your wattage to figure out your solar. I use this quite a bit if I install somebody's solar, which I just used it during the beet harvest because I hooked somebody up. But anyway, that's a different subject. So when I hooked this up, I waited for the compressor to turn on, and it showed me it clicked 800. I'm like, well, that's the fridge. That's the compressor in the fridge doing that. Why is my camera going out of focus? This is my phone. You can probably tell the difference, but whatever. Let's get this ripped apart. Everything's good. That's running. That's full of, that's just ice, or ice. That's just frozen foods. That's it. That is a dual zone chest freezer, but I use it just for a freezer. And then I have this little fridge here that I use for pop or whatever, beer, you know, ketchup, mustard, the necessities, lunch meat.